Pentacles, chapter 19, 10 of Pentacles. Easy now, Kain, said Gay, taking his nephew's hand. You have to forgive my nephew. He's a little anxious to getting kidnapped by drug dealers, and here's some money for the taxi. Now get lost before we change our mind. Ramala wanted to continue arguing, but she saw the time. She took the money and she called a cab and she left to pick up her son. Ramala was in such a hurry that she forgot her wallet. Kain fiddled with the wallet nervously. He felt that he had overreacted to a harmless act of vandalism. When his shift then ended, he drove up to Romela's apartment to return the wallet, and he knocked on the door. Romela alarmed took her son to the first floor bathroom to hide from Kain. You forgot your wallet, yelled Kain. I am going to leave it under your welcome mat. Kain left the wallet under the welcome mat before driving away. Romela cautiously left the bathroom to retrieve her wallet, and inside she found $500. Kain had left it in order to clear up his consciousness, and the following day Romela was back at the station, and Kain saw the woman looking for him. And he went to Uncle Gen's office to hide underneath his desk, and Kain huffed with annoyance, and in the end he decided to tolerate this infantile behavior. And he attributed this new malfunction to finally forcing Kain to remember his most recent trauma. You know, Uncle Gen, said Kain, I can understand why Jeremy never wants to get out of his house. He too must have been born under an unlucky star. There is no such thing as a carefree life, as a happy carefree life. Misfortune happens to everyone sooner or later, said Gen, petting Kain's hair lovingly. Farley entered Gen's office and he asked, where is he hiding? Are you in the mood for another beating? asked Gen, cracking his knuckles. My friend Romela was looking for your grandson, said Farley. To sue him, asked Gen. Nah, she's here to apologize for all of the trouble she caused, said Farley. She apologized enough while she was at my station, said Gen. The more you stir the shit, the worse it smells. Come again? asked Farley, raising an eyebrow. It means leave well enough alone, insisted Gen. Farley went to Romela to tell her to leave well enough alone, and since the problem wasn't going away, Kain left his hiding spot, and Farley had a hearty laugh when he saw where Kain was hiding. And Romela sat before Kain in order to speak with him, and as a self-defense mechanism, Kain reached into his pocket to put on his headset, and he blasted in full volume ABBA. Only had instructed Kain to listen to happy music when he was upset, and Romela clenched her fist in impotent fury. And there was nothing more she hated more than being ignored. Kain, smiling thinly, said, it doesn't do one well to snap every time a person refuses to listen to what you have to say. The world is filled with billions of humans who do not care about your opinion. The sooner you internalize this fact, the easier your life is going to be. Let's go, Romola, and what did I tell you? Don't waste your breath on this lunatic and leave well enough alone and all that garbage, said Farley, opening the door. I didn't come here to start a fight, said Romola, talking to Farley. I thought about it, and my behavior was out of line, and my ex-husband, he would beat me, and it took me years to finally work up the courage to leave him. And your cold attitude reminded me of him, and please forgive me for damaging your patrol car. Kain removed his headset, and he had been listening to everything, and then he said, and you sound just like my mother. Every time she would mistreat me, she would blame her father for her abusive behavior. I was made to suffer for the sins of another, and I feel sorry for your son. It must be difficult to live with a two-faced monster like you. And I will be seeing you soon, and if I find a single bruise on your little boy, you will never see him again. Romela turned as pale as a ghost, and she had come there to clear her consciousness, and the night before she had seen on the news a report about Kain's kidnapping, and she hadn't even considered the possibility that she might lose custody of her child. Come on, son, said Gemi unanimously. And surely you have something better to do than harass that single mother during your free time. The first time my mother took me, a police officer saw me and heard me calling for help, and instead of helping me, that lazy pig just drove away, and I would sooner die than become the very thing I despise, said Kain, rubbing his temple. Romela's a good mother, I can vouch for her, said Farley. You sound just like my mother's lawyer, hissed Kain. Enough, go to therapy, take a chill pill, do something, but don't bring into the workspace all your childhood traumas, hissed Farley. That is easy for you to say. Your job is more important than your own son, barked Kain. Farley opened his mouth to retort, but he wasn't able to. Kain opened his emergency box of donuts, and the glucose held through Kain's frayed nerves, and Romela reached into her purse to leave behind the $500 that Kain had left her, and she apologized one last time before running away from the situation. And Kain decided to believe Farley's statement to testament to Romela's parenting skill, and once he made peace with the situation, he erased Romela from his mind completely. It was a warm November day, and Kain left his job early in order to go to therapy, and he didn't feel that his sessions with Unla were doing much of anything. He still found comfort in the strength that Unla naturally emanated. He entered her house using the key that Carina had given him, and even though they were no longer a couple, Carina had given Kain the freedom to come and go as he pleased in her domain. Kain removed his seatbelt and his gun before lying down. Removed his belt and his gun before lying down on the couch. And just when he was most relaxed, he saw an unfamiliar toddler running towards his revolver. Kain sprang from his seat to recover his revolver, and he placed it on top of the cabinet, out of vision, out of sight. And Rebecca, Bruno's sister, entered the living room, chasing after her youngest brat, Donatella. "Hi, Rebecca," said Kain shyly. "Hello, Kain. Was it? Who let you in here?" said Rebecca, struggling with Donatella, who wanted to run as free as the wind. "Carina gave me a key to the house," said Kain, showing the key. "I am part of the family. Una lets me come and go as I please." "Right. Good for you," said Rebecca, narrowing her eyes. She didn't like how quickly her brother had moved in with Carina, and the fact that Carina's ex-boyfriend could come and go as he pleased didn't inspire much confidence either. Unla arrived 5 minutes later, and Bruno had warned Unla of Rebecca's surprise visit. "Can you go to my sister's house for an hour?" asked Unla, pointing towards the door. "And I have work to do, and noisy toddlers are distracting." Rebecca left Unla's house, and Kain lied down on the couch, and Unla sat down on the rocking chair beside Kain, and she stretched her hand to absently pet Kain's hair, and on her pages were unique puzzles, and Kain responded well to touch. And Unla felt that she was making significant progress with Kain, and her patient now no longer suffered panic attacks while driving. He was also more communicative about the things that bothered him, and for 2 steps forward there was 1 step back, and Eugenia had recently told Unla that Kain had suffered a panic attack before mating, and Eugenia couldn't understand why Kain stressed so much about something that was supposed to be enjoyable. "Let's continue talking about your mother," said Unla. "I am so sick of talking about my mother," protested Kain. "And yet you bring her up in practically every conversation you have with women who accept you," said Unla. "I see your point," moaned Kain while his feet shifted in the sofa. "Did you see your mother die?" asked Unla. "Kinda. She finished dying in the hospital, or so I was told, and we were sitting together watching The Price is Right when she started foaming at the mouth, and the service worker immediately called an ambulance, while I cried, unable to do anything for the poor devil," said Kain, remembering. "So you cried while she died," asked Unla. "Yes, I may have hated my mother, but I didn't want her to die," protested Kain. "Have you ever visited your mother's grave?" asked Unla. "Nobody told me where she was buried, but I suppose that is information that I can easily find out," said Kain. "I am way ahead of you," said Unla, pointing to a bouquet of flowers. "Let's go to the cemetery. It might be therapeutic to finally lay your mother to rest." Unla left the house with Kain, and she wasn't in the mood to deal with surprise guests, and the two arrived to the cemetery after a 20-minute drive. And Kain was surprised to know just how close this cemetery was to his house. And they walked till they found a simple headstone with Bella's name, and her epitaph was Isaiah 55:7. Unla brought out a miniature Bible to look up the words of the epitaph. "Let the wicked forsake his way, and the unrighteous man his thoughts, and let him return to the Lord, that he may have compassion on him, and to our God, for he will abundantly pardon." I don't know where that went wrong, Unla, said Kain, sitting down on top of a grave marker shaped like a bench. In front of others, my mother was all sugar and sweetness, and when everyone stopped watching, she became cold and distant. It isn't my role to play devil's advocate, said Unla, and since I do not know anything about Bella, I can't help rationalize her actions. I ask you, Kain, to tell your mother how much she hurt you, and when you are truly done, I want you to tell her that you forgive her. And why do I have to forgive my mother? Protested Kain, pointing to his mother's grave. She's the bad one in this story. Parents are not perfect, Kain, said Unla, and she did the best she could given her circumstances. You need to forgive her for what she did to you, and more importantly, you need to forgive yourself for holding on to this grudge for so long. Kain ran to the gravestone of his mother, and when dusk fell, he felt like going home, and he said, I forgive you, Mother. This forgiveness thing is not going to work unless you truly mean it, said Unla. It is just us here alone in a creepy cemetery. You do not need to lie to anyone. You can even curse if it will make you feel better. I am sorry, Unla, said Kain. I am still not able to forgive my mother. And maybe if you would have apologized while she lived, it would have been easier. And I wanna forgive her truly, because I don't wanna go to hell, but I'm only human, Unla, and I just can't forgive her. Kain covered his face to cry, and Unla sat beside Kain in order to give him a shoulder to cry on. And when Kain was done crying, Unla flipped through her pocket Bible to look for some words of wisdom, and she smiled thinly before reading. Be angry, yet do not sin, and do not let the sun set while you are still angry. You see, Kain, you can be angry at your mother and still forgive her. Forgiveness is about blessing your enemies instead of cursing them. I guess, said Kain, reading the Bible passage. Yes, I may have hated my mother, but I did not want her to die. We made good progress today, said Unla, patting Kain's shoulder, and Kain was no longer bitter and angry about his past. He was sad that his mother was never able to love him, though. It was the weekend, so Kain arrived early in the morning to get his therapy out of the way, and he made breakfast for Unla and Rebecca's daughter, and Bruno and Carina. Rebecca was still struggling to understand where Kain fitted in the grand scheme of things. And once they were fed, Carina went with others assembled to the beach. Kain came along in order to do his therapy by the beachside, and he lay down in the sand beside Unla, and she started petting his hair lovingly. I dreamt of my mother last night, said Kain, and she kept calling me Keenan. I don't know what that was all about. I guess she had been dead for so long that she forgot my name, and she regretted not being allowed a second chance to make things right. You are probably her unfinished business, and you need to forgive and forget her, Kain, suggested Carina, who was eavesdropping. A heart filled with anger and resentment doesn't have room for love and happiness. Instead of hyper-focusing on your mother's many faults, said Bruno, I suggest you engage in positivity. Try to remember the good times you spent with your mother, and trust me, Kain, the good will outweigh the bad. I talked enough about my mother for 1 week, moaned Kain. Try a different topic, Unla. And Henry recently mentioned that you two were having intimacy problems, said Unla, giggling. She's the one with the problem. How am I to satisfy her if she doesn't tell me what she likes? And between us, she isn't as good as an actress as she thinks she is, whined Kain. Are you still doing missionary? Asked Bruno, laughing. Variety is the spice of life, Kain, said Carina. You know all the positions, Kain. I know because I taught them to you, or must I give you a refresher's course? I will allow it, under the condition that I'm allowed to split Kain in half. Bruno, you surprise me, said Carina, snuggling up against Bruno. I like big butts, and sadly that is the one thing you are lacking, said Bruno before slapping his girlfriend's tight rear end. You are disrupting my therapy session, said Unla, pointing towards the ocean. Carina and Bruno ran towards the ocean hand in hand. With all of the distraction out of the way, Unla was able to focus on her therapy session. After meditating, Unla asked bluntly, when you want to pleasure yourself, what type of movies or magazines do you use to get in the mood? I don't see how that's any of your business, said Kain, sitting out to be on eye level with his therapist. I was simply asking a medical question, said Unla. You do not need to answer it if you do not feel comfortable. My second question. When you go out dancing, what is the type of woman you usually go for? I dance with Eugenia, said Kain. I haven't the need to pick up other women. Have you ever picked up a woman? Asked Unla. No, I have never found myself in a situation where I had to go look for a mate. Everyone always has a friend of a friend who is interested in dating me, explained King. Even Eugenia, I only went out with her because Carina pressured me into it. And she was under the impression that I had a thing for Eugenia, and you know your daughter. When she gets a terrible idea in her head, she goes full steam ahead. She is a Sagittarius, said Unla. And tell me about your first time, King. It was with your daughter, said Kain. Didn't Carina tell you all of the sordid details? She did, but I want to hear your version, said Unla. When Carina kissed you, how did it feel? It felt minty, said Kain. I was able to taste her mint-flavored bubblegum on her lips, and the way she caressed my hair felt nice, and slowly her hands explored everything I had to offer. And she made me feel many new sensations, and through her lips I experienced pleasure for the first time in my life. So this was a positive memory, asked Unla. Yes, said Kain flatly. It made me happy to be with Carina, and she made me feel loved and wanted, but your daughter, she didn't want me. She slept with me in order to get back with Malik, and Malik had supposedly cheated on her, and she needed to even the score. Supposedly, asked Unla, raising an eyebrow. Malik told me recently that he was drugged and that 3 women jumped him while he was vulnerable, and he never told anyone about this because as a man what happened to him counts as cheating, said Kain. And every time he tried to talk about that night, people would shame him. Puta madre, Kain, how long were you planning to keep that to yourself? Said Unla, jumping out of her seat. I am sorry, I told Uncle Game about it, and he said he was going to handle the problem, said Kain. And I was hoping that he would have told you about it, but I guess he decided that some secrets are better left untold. Unla rubbed her temple to illustrate her sudden headache, and she ended her therapy session early. And Ken felt happy about how therapy had ended, and he no longer felt the burden with Malik's secret. And he left Unla's side to go swim in the ocean. And when he tired himself out, he floated as the gentle waves lifted him up and down, and he developed a healthy suntan after floating for so long. He returned to the umbrella to look at his cell phone, and he smiled when he saw a text message from Eugenia. The maiden was in a mood to see him, and Kain dried himself quickly, and he ran to the parking lot to get in his car to drive to Eugenia's house. Eunice opened the door for Kain, and sitting in the living room was Eugenia watching a movie with her family. And she sprang from the sofa as soon as she saw Kain walk into the door, and she hugged and kissed Kain. You smell like seawater. Go take a shower first, commented Eugenia. The two made it to the bedroom, and she undressed Kain to speed things along, and her long fingers explored